Well, you had to know this is coming, and yeah, I got on the inside of the Eagles beanie and a Coogee jacket because even indoors it's chilly. It turned the frost up upside, man. It's like somebody just took an outdoor freezer and just opened the freezer and just left it open, man. It's literally like 0 degrees outside, like right now. I'm freezing to death. I'm cold. My fingers are cold. I feel like they're about to turn blue in a second, but we got somebody to raise the temperature here right now. Joining us for another installment of, let me get the right stuff up, the right graphics. Behind Enemy Lines, we go behind the scenes with a dear friend of mine, lead writer, editor at Arrowhead Addict, my guy, Matt Connor. How you doing today, big brother?
I'm good, Jeffrey. How are you, man?
Chilling, man. I don't know if you heard, but your team is playing mine on Monday Night Football. I don't know if this information slipped past you or anything, but yeah, it sounds like we got a quote-unquote Super Bowl rematch to have.
Right.
I'm sick of that, man. Like, this is not a rematch. Something tells me that the winner of this game is not going to win a Vince Lombardi trophy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, these are very, very different teams. I think both teams understand that, and there's a lot to like about this matchup from every angle. Trent McDuffie, the Chiefs cornerback, second year guy, he was their first round pick last year. He said he was stoked. He was like, man, he was on Schefter's podcast earlier this week. He said, man, this game, this is exactly why we play football. It's prime time. The Eagles are the best team in the NFC. We love playing these big matchups. Yeah, so I think the Super Bowl angle adds a little bit to it, but you don't even need that. Like, just this season alone, it's just going to be a great game.
Let's talk about those matchups. That's actually going to be like my third question. I'm making my first. Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, two outside corners.
Yeah.
How do you feel about them matching up with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith this week?
Well, I mean, that's going to be the toughest test, right? Gosh, Brown is having a heck of a season, especially the Eagles overall are just an incredible team in that unit. But this Chiefs defense, that was part of what McDuffie was saying to Schefter. Schefter was like, hey, how do you reflect back on the last time you played these teams? And McDuffie was like, hey, look, even if we win, if they hang 35 on us again, we're going home sour. He's like, no one's hanging 35 on us, not this year. And he was differentiating. He's like, we have a different team this year. So they are, man. McDuffie's been locked down. Sneed's been locked down. I mean, look at what they did to the Miami Dolphins a week ago, right? I mean, Tyreek Hill basically went for nothing. Everyone's going for nothing against Sneed. Dude has not allowed a touchdown in 330 something coverage snaps this year. He's in a contract year, so the contract year is undefeated. As one of my favorite Therese Paler used to say, rest in peace. But yeah, man, McDuffie's as good as advertised. Sneed's wanting to get paid. That's gonna be a killer battle.
Awesome, man. Awesome. This is my opinion of Chris Jones. Now, you tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong.
Yeah, do it.
I felt like Chris Jones came out and had immense talent as soon as he entered this league. You just knew this guy was going to be great. But I feel like for some reason we didn't talk about him as much because there were so many offensive stars to talk about.
Yep.
And I feel like rather than trail off or level off or hit the ceiling or something like that, it feels like Chris Jones keeps getting better and better and better. Like 2022 Chris Jones and 2023 Chris Jones is even better than the guy that we thought was going to be elite forever. Am I right about that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Chris, I think what happened 2 years ago, the Chiefs made a hire that kind of went under the radar. They hired Joe Cullen, who was a longtime Ravens defensive line coach with those fierce defenses. And then he was the Jags defensive coordinator for 1 year, and that didn't go too well. Andy Reid brings him in to coach the defensive line and made some changes 2 years ago, 2 springs ago. So he took over for when George Karlaftis entered the picture. Then Chris Jones had that monster year last year. And everyone's kind of pointing to Cullen like, hey, we were already good, but this guy knows how to really squeeze the most out of this talent and coach guys up. Mm-hmm. And so even when Chris Jones was coming back this year, everyone was kind of like, was that a contract year thing? Was he going all out for the extension? And then he missed all of training camp. So you're wondering how good is he going to be when he comes in? I mean, he spent week one. He's just up in the stands with one agent on each side, And so you're like, that dude walked down the stands, took the field the next week, and had like 2.5 sacks and 5 pressure. I mean, he was so game ready. So, yeah, written into his contract are all these bonuses to win Defensive Player of the Year. And the dude already missed the first game. But yeah, he's a monster. I think he has a fringe Hall of Fame case that will only get stronger as he keeps it up.
Gotcha. I typically ask everybody that comes on, man, what the vibe is, what the temperature is when we talk about the head coach. I feel like I don't have to do that. I feel like Andy Reid's pretty popular, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually ask you about your defensive coordinator. We know Andy Reid pretty well in Philadelphia for obvious reasons. Spags we know pretty well too.
Yeah.
Spags is a great defensive mind, I've always believed, but it's hard to get people to believe that because his defense is tend to give up 30 points a game and do so quite often.
Sure.
What's the vibes with Spags? Do you guys like that guy? Do you feel like this team would be better with another defensive coordinator? How do y'all feel about him?
No. Everyone at this point is ready to get like a big chest tattoo of Steve Spagnuolo's face or something. I mean, this defense this year has carried the team. I mean, if they were any other year's defense, I think the Chiefs would have 4 losses right now rather than 2. So they should be 8-1 if not for like craziness versus Detroit in the first week where they were dropping passes left and right and crazy amounts of penalty. It was they just laid a total egg that game. But yeah, we love Spags. Spags is, I mean, we're actually writing articles about whether or not Spags will get another head coaching opportunity. That's how good of a year he's having.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't want to do this, man, but I can't bring you on tonight.
Do it.
About this thing.
What do you need?
February.
Yeah.
I'm still hurt by this, man. I'm bothered by this. I don't think I'll ever get over this. I think the Eagles can win 3 more Super Bowls, and I'm still going to talk about 57. The greatest Eagles team of all time in a night became the most disappointing Eagles team of all time. It was crushing. It was awful. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, I thought that one of the reasons Andy Reid, had such a long leash and he was so successful because Chiefs fans were so much nicer than Eagles fans. I realized you guys really aren't as nice as you guys come across sometimes. It was cruel, man. I'll be honest with you. But I do have to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Should they have called the holding penalty on James Brown?
I knew it.
This is why I'm going to say this, man. Because I feel like holding went on that entire game. It's not a question of whether or not, and I've talked about people about this all over fan side. It's not about a question of whether or not it was holding. We all know it was holding.
Yep.
My question is, why do we call holding then when we haven't called holding the whole game? Yep. It's like we changed the strike zone in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Yeah.
With 2 strikes and 3 balls. And all of a sudden, we widen the strike zone a little bit and call a walk.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I feel like James Harden has 2 moves. I'm glad he's gone from the Sixers, by the way. But I feel like James Harden has 2 moves. I believe he has that step back, and the other move he has is traveling. But I feel like we allow James Harden. We allow James Harden. I was about to say James Bradley. We allow James Harden to travel because we know that's how his game works.
Sure.
But if we're in Game 7 of the finals, and all of a sudden we call James Harden for traveling, now it's a little different. That's how I felt about the holding call.
Sure.
How do you guys feel? Was it holding? Did it need to be called or not, man?
I can totally understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bother me that would even be the right opinion or whatever. I like refs to get out of the way. Football is a physical game, and I like it when they allowed teams to play physically. I feel that way about basketball too. I feel like, let them get rough in the paint. Let the game play out the way it wants to. And the Chiefs. The Chiefs are doing that right now. The Chiefs are playing ultra physical on the line. Their corners are pressing and grabbing and holding and like trying to get away with every little thing. Because you may get caught a couple times, but over time that advantage is worth like sticking to that plan. I agree with you. If you're going to call it, you got to be uniform in calling it from beginning to end so that everyone can adjust to whatever the rules are going to be established as. to pull out something late in the game, for the refs to make themselves a story at all late in the game makes it egregious. I can totally see why you're like, I'll be talking about this for forever. Yeah, I would be too. It was a thrilling game, historic offenses at work, defenses rising up to try to make it tougher in key moments. So much star power. It's one of the best Super Bowls ever, and one team had to lose. What sucks is that the team had to lose with ref involvement, as a cloud hanging over it, But yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
The thing about, I said I wasn't going to ask you about Andy Reid. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
No way I can't do it. So Andy Reid, man, one of the things that hurt was I saw Andy Reid win a Super Bowl against the Eagles, and he did so by doing the things that he never did here. Halftime adjustments, things of those nature,
Sure.
better clock management, things of that nature. It was just like, if he had done that in Philadelphia, I think we would have won 1 or 2 Super Bowls. I definitely believe if we get past Arizona in 2009, I believe that was the NFC Championship game. I believe we get past Arizona. I think Donovan McNabb has a ring right now. Why now? Like, are we seeing another evolution of Andy Reid, the great offensive mind that he is? Has he transformed and become an even better coach? Is he starting to master these things that we used to think were criticisms?
I think so. The clock concerns were here early in Kansas City, and they've gone away. The things you could tell me better than you could tell me whether they were in Philly too. I think I remember were short yardage. I don't know if that was ever a concern. In other words, Andy Reid is still Andy Reid in some ways. Patrick Mahomes was injured on a quarterback sneak back in 2018, right? He had to pop his own kneecap back in place on the field, right? Then he was out for the next 2 games, and then going forward. Ever since then, Andy Reid, like, you guys have the brotherly shove and whatever's going on there, that feels like an automatic 3rd down conversion on short yardage.
Yeah.
The Chiefs refuse to run any sort of quarterback sneak at all because he's afraid of losing Mahomes again from 5 years ago. And so now every game, 3rd and short, the Chiefs get super cute. They dance around, they run side to side, they call some crazy play, and you're like, all you need to do is fall forward, right? You've got like an interior with like Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey. You have Pro Bowlers as your like interior linemen, and they still try to get all kinds of cute. And it happens every game. The adjustments are never made, and it drives us batty. So I think in some ways, Andy Reid is still the guy who's like, the fans are clamoring, like, just sneak it, just do something different. And they won't. He keeps trying to get cute. At the same time, some of the things that plagued him in Philly have been adjusted. And I think that's going to be true of anyone who gets a second chance at something and gets, has the ability to like kick back, take a look at maybe what happened one time and what, I would hope I would keep learning, right? Wouldn't you?
Yeah. I believe this is accurate. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I love Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen, great Raider, transitions over to the Chiefs, had his little issues with Al Davis, whatever. I don't even know if they ever worked those things out. Typically, if you play several years and you play with these different teams and stuff, you're in the Hall of Fame, but you go in as a
sure.
Dick Vermeer went in as an Eagle. I think Marcus Allen went in as a Chief.
Did he really?
I think so. Like, I got to research that and everything, but Andy Reid's going in the Hall of Fame as a Chief now, isn't he? Like, he's no longer an Eagle. We can't call him that anymore, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Which is sad because his legacy with Philly was so great, right? What a great guy, great community guy, great leader of men, players who swear by him, and longevity on the sidelines there in a town that's brutal at times to leaders who, they can run them out of town, basically. But yeah, when you win 2 Super Bowls and it looks like more could be on the way, and he's not quitting anytime soon. He's made it very clear. I don't know how you don't go in as a Chief at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. I know we're in a little bit of overtime. I said I was going to keep about 15 minutes. This is too good, man. I got to stay for a
All
little
good.
bit.
Oh, good.
Let's talk about Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Where do the Chiefs have distinct advantages over the Eagles where they can win consistently and, the Eagles have no shot other than Travis Kelce? But you can talk about Travis Kelce too if you like.
Man, honestly, offensively, not much. I mean, these Chiefs are sputtering offensively. Andy Reid talked about a great need to self scout during the bye week. So they've taken, both teams have had the last 15 days or will have had 15 days off in between games, and the Chiefs need it. Right now, the wide receiver core is a total mess. It's a room full of guys who do one thing well, and so when they're on the field, they're on the field to do that one thing, and defenses are bracketing Travis Kelce. Like the Dolphins kept him to 19 yards, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And then the Chiefs really couldn't do much. It's literally been the defense that has kind of pulled them along the lines to these like very close victories. It's a brand new way of winning. Chiefs fans are hating it. I mean, the Chiefs fans are the most unhappy 7-2 team in the NFL. It's kind of crazy. If you read their Twitter, you would just think they were 4-5 and on the outside looking into the playoff picture rather than fully in control of their own playoff destiny. But everyone's kind of scratching their head like, why is Mahomes throwing so many interceptions this year? Why are we committing so many penalties? Why are receivers not doing anything? But Sky Moore looks like a draft bust. Kadarius Toney, the trade didn't do anything at all. They traded back for McCole Hardman, by the way, and the New York Jets signed him to a deal worth $3.5 million, and then like gave him 3 catches. Like when the Jets tell you, yeah, you can just sit here for a while, like you're not that great. And yet when he gets back with the Chiefs, he's earning all kinds of playing time. So yeah, the Chiefs need all new receivers. It's only Kelce at this point. It would not surprise me if the Eagles defense had a really nice day against the Chiefs, unless the Chiefs prove they can figure some things out.
This is how I see it, man. Like we couldn't stop tight ends when Jim Schwartz was here. We couldn't do it with Jonathan Gannon. Doesn't look like we can do it. I feel like it's the other way around, man. I think you can draw some comfort in knowing that Kelsey's probably going to have a big day because we just don't stop tight ends right here for some reason. We just forget his position. I akin it to Michael Jordan. You just got to a point sometimes where you just knew Jordan was going to get his, and you try to limit everybody else.
Sure,
but maybe that's a strategy or whatever. But so as far as like building the talent of this team, Andy Reid took to Kansas City what he built in Philadelphia and what Philadelphia still copies. Howie Roseman's business model is the same as what Andy Reid's business model is. Start in the trenches. Typically in a draft, Andy Reid took a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Occasionally he went outside that and got like a Lito Shepherd or Jeremy Maclin. But 9 times out of 10, it was an offensive lineman, even if we drafted an old fireman that didn't even want to play football. Andy Reid has taken that over. So in a lot of ways, when I look at you guys, it's like, this looks familiar because the Eagles and the Chiefs kind of look like each other.
Sure.
Great quarterback, offensive skill players,
strong lines,
ready to tight end position, strong offensive, defensive lines. Do the Eagles have a shot at getting around the offensive line to generate a bunch of sacks? Does this offensive line have an ability to create holes for the running game and keep Jalen Hurts vertical?
Yeah. They're the Chiefs' offensive line right now is a little bit. It's still kind of rounding into form. They added 2 new tackles this year. So Orlando Brown Jr. gone to the Bengals. Andrew Wiley, like from the Super Bowl last year. Andrew Wiley to the Washington Commanders. In their place, they signed Donovan Smith from the Bucks, who is a penalty machine. And then they signed Jawan Taylor away from the Jags, 4 years, $80 million. And he was like the talk of the early season because he kept false starting and Chris Collinsworth calls him out and on that season opening broadcast, and it becomes like a league-wide sort of, who are we going to call? Are we going to call this or not? Kind of the same thing that Lane Johnson gets away with all the time, right? So, that said, the tackles have struggled at times. You're going to be able to get to Mahomes. The problem with once you get to Mahomes is you got to finish getting to Mahomes, and Mahomes has that ability to be just fast enough to make defenses pay. at that level. So that'll be interesting to me. Um, how's Philly's O-line looking, by the way? The Chiefs are getting a good amount of pressure, but I mean, have they faced a line as good as Philly's this year?
Kind of like what you said. If you read Twitter, excuse me, X, if you
Right.
read social media, they'll tell you that the Eagles are 1-8 instead of the other way around. But Cam Jurgens being missing is something. I think Tyler Cena is a little bit better than people think he is. Had a huge moment in the Dallas Cowboys game, jumped on a fumble that shouldn't have been a fumble and everything. Could have been a whole traumatic situation and a tragedy right there. But Tyler Steen paid some dividends. I think he's going to be good. Lane is Lane. I think Landon Dickerson is still one of the best in the business. Jason Kelsey, of course, anchor in the middle, and Jordan Mailata, though not quite as refined yet as he probably will end up being. I mean, the guy didn't even know how to put his helmet on when he got here from Australia.
Yeah.
But he's turned into something special. So it doesn't look like the Eagles from time to time, but I feel like they'll be okay. Like the running game doesn't seem to be doing what it is, but that's also a part of Jalen Hurts throwing more now. And I think the lack of having Jalen Hurts as a running threat with the bone bruise, I think that kind of limits the running game as well, because they know they really don't have to stop him, and he really doesn't want to run the ball for real. So without the threat of Jalen Hurts running the ball, a combination of all those things I think have attributed to the running game kind of slacking from what we expected to be. But kind of to your point, whether it's Chiefs fans, Eagles fans, everybody thinks they're watching college football. If you don't beat everybody by 30, they think they're watching Georgia Vanderbilt every week, and that's not right. Going to happen. They don't understand those other teams have NFL players too. There will be ebbs and flows in the game. The New England Patriots had issues from time to time. They just made you sick because it looked like they had a chance of losing. They always found a way to pull it out, like Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, I love
Ric Flair always looked like he was this close to losing. And always pulled it out at the end, man. But I'm confident the O-line. I think it'll be all right.
All right. By the way, the bone bruise for, you mentioned Jalen Hurts. Will the bye change that?
I don't think I've ever had a bone bruise before, but it sounds painful. I think this is something Jalen would deal with for the remainder of the season. Probably not to the point where it knocks him out of any games, hopefully. But I just don't see him with continuing contact in a sport that's a demolition derby to some extent. I just don't see how he's 100% healthy the rest of it. I'm just more worried about the fact, man, that he had the ankle thing his first year as a starter. Then he had the shoulder thing last year, and now he's got the knee thing. And it's like he's also hurt earlier in the season than we're used to him being hurt. Mm-hmm. It's like half the season wasn't even over yet. He's been dealing with this since the Rams game. So
yeah, that definitely takes away a facet of that game.
Yeah. Who are the I always ask about the unknowns. Who are the guys that don't necessarily get the national headlines from the Chiefs that probably can help create the I can't say it's an upset. I think you guys are favorite, but who are the unknown guys that can help lead to a Chiefs win?
Sure. One player to watch, like I said earlier, the defense has been locked down. They signed a linebacker named Drew Tranquil away from the Chargers in the offseason. He signed a real cheap deal, 1 year, $3 million. So it wasn't anything big, but he has been, I mean, maybe outside of Chris Jones and McDuffie and Snead, he's maybe like the fourth best defender on the team. He can blitz and go into coverage, and Spags loves using guys like that to disguise what he's going to do on any given play. And the Chiefs lost Nick Bolton for 2 months, so he's been able to step right into that sort of lead communicator, captain role in the middle of the defense and perform well. So he's going to be a good guy to watch there. And also George Karlaftis was another first round pick a year ago. He's leading the Chiefs in sacks with 6 and in pressures as well. Of course, everyone loves playing next to Chris Jones because Chris Jones just eats double teams. But yeah, Karlaftis is getting it done. He's made a leap to the next level. So that talent will be there. If Philly fans are just wondering how the Chiefs have improved from last year, Karlaftis' improvement is a big one.
Predictions. How you see this one playing out? Which you got for a final score?
I have Philly rolling in this one. I mean, not rolling in this one, but I have Philly winning a close game in this one. I'm only going to believe that the Chiefs are over their offensive hiccups when I see it. And they've just struggled enough for me to believe that a team, man, you would know this better than I would, but to me, the Eagles look far more complete on paper, have more talent than I think the Chiefs have in what I thought was going to be a little bit of a transition year. So, yeah, I'll go 27-24 Eagles would be my pick.
Said the exact same thing I said, but I had it the other way. I actually thought this was a game that I actually had this scheduled as I had the Eagles going 9-0 to start the season. I was trying to find losses and stuff, so I just gave them a loss with the Jets game. They never lost to the Jets till this year, but it just didn't play out the way I thought. I, for some reason, thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to be on the field, and that would be the reason that we lost to the Jets. Once we found out Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be playing, I was like, okay, we get Zach Wilson. This is a good thing, and we end up losing that game. So the undisputed 12-0 streak to all time against the Jets is over. You now got a check mark in the loss column, but I said 27-24 Chiefs, but I hope I'm wrong.
Well, we're at least giving the nod this week, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, man, I appreciate it. How can they follow you? How can they keep up with what you're doing?
Sure. Yeah. Everything we write is over at arrowheadaddict.com for all things Chiefs news and perspective over there leading up to the game. I'm on Twitter at Matt Connor AA. And of course, at Arrowhead Addict is our site's Twitter there. So yeah, those would be the prime places to follow. I guess it is called X now. I should say that.
Yeah.
But it's easy to forget.
I don't know if we still call them retweets though. We just call them shares.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what to say.
Too.
I just say the old language.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you getting up on this frosty morning to hang out with us. Nobody will notice by looking at you. It looks like it's like 6 PM, but it's pretty early, man. So I appreciate you getting up early to hang out with me.
You got it, Jeffrey. Thanks always.
All right, man. Appreciate you.